is going to be some fun. I'm so excited. We have with us Andrea Hall, and I want to tell you a little bit about her before I go dark. So Andrea Hall is the founder and the executive director of EPIC Homeschool Network and a homeschooling mom of 3 kids. So she started off homeschooling other people's kids in 2008, graduating one to high school. She then started homeschooling her own children in 2012. In addition, wait a minute. In addition to homeschooling, she is a certified math educator who teaches and tutors mathematics. Andrea knows what it's like to feel anxious, unfocused, and overwhelmed. And so during today's session, she's going to bring her wealth of knowledge as a busy working homeschooling mom to provide support and clarity to other families in their homeschooling journey. Andrea, it's such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here and I'm excited. Thank you so much for that introduction.
You're so welcome. The floor is yours.
All right. Woo. And it's so many of you guys in here. This is amazing. This is awesome. So I'm happy that you guys are all joining me today as we talk about becoming a working homeschool mom pro. So that was a beautiful introduction. I don't think I could say anything else. Just letting you guys know a little bit more about me. So as you can tell, my name's Andrea Hall. That's my contact information there in case you want to reach out to me after the session. That's my phone number. Please text before you call, so that way I'll answer. But that's another way you can reach out to me. And as you guys heard, I am the founder of EPIC Homeschool Network, which is a nonprofit. Our mission is to enrich, enhance, and empower home education in the community. We are a multicultural community, a Black-owned multicultural community. And within that community, we have a homeschool masterclass, which is a community of accountability and encouragement for homeschool moms. And these are my 3 kids and my handsome husband. So that's just a little picture of us. This is kind of old, but just so you guys could see that I am a real person with a real family. And my day job consists of teaching math online. I'm teaching math in our homeschool co-op and also creating resources in my pay teachers classroom. I also enjoy long strolls down the grocery aisles with no kids and using the bathroom alone. Anybody else? Just me? Okay. All right. But that's enough about me. Who do we have in the room today? I want to find out how many of you, oops, sorry. I want to find out how many of you are already busy working homeschooling moms. Like you're already working and you're homeschooling. So how many guys are already doing that? All right, I see some people who are using the raise the hand icon. You are Zoom connoisseurs. You could just type me in the chat as well so I can see. I'm interactive. Can you tell it's a teacher in me? I want to make sure you guys are here with me. Awesome. Okay, dads. Haha. Thank you. Hey, we need it too. Dads need it too. All right, excellent. And then how many of you guys are already homeschooling, but you're adding work to the lifestyle? So just say, you know, you're already homeschooling, but you're adding work to it. All right, I see. Excellent. A-team, Carlos. Yep, you want to add work. Ebony, Jada, excellent. Already homeschooling, looking to add work. Risa, all right. Cleo, adding, excellent. Targan. So I like that we have a good mix in here. And how many guys actually work and then you're adding homeschooling to the lifestyle? So you already work, but now you're adding the homeschooling component to it. So you could type in work, adding homeschool. All right. So some people, so it seems like you're homeschooling the majority. Okay, I see some. All right, Naya. Husband works, wants to help. Excellent. For the husband getting involved. Target is like all of the above. Excellent. And then how many guys are just here for the scenery? You're like, I'm just here just to check it out. Well, whichever group you're in, I'm happy you guys are here. Okay, and this will help me to gauge our talk and what I'm going to focus on, because at the end, I want to encourage you guys to ask me questions as we go through. Not even at the end, as we go through, I want to encourage you guys to ask me questions. So in today's session, we're going to discover 5 strategies to balance work, home, and school. All right, so that's what we're going to be talking about today, 5 strategies. And as we begin, I begin with the first one, which is a weird one to begin with. Embrace the tension. All right. So why is that a strategy? Why is embrace the tension a strategy? All right. So for a long time, I fought against tension, right? I did not like it. Has anyone ever seen a tightrope walker? Like you've been to the circus and you've seen a walker walking on a tightrope. And when you do that, man, I wish I could tell y'all to just grab the mic. When you do that, when you see a tightrope on the a tightrope walker, what's the main component of the rope? What does it have to be? You guys can just type in the chat box. What does it have to be? It must be taut, right? They must be tense or they will fall, right? So I thought of that analogy, and the reason I brought up that analogy, it can't have a loop, it has to be tight. So there has to be some tension in it. And I bring that up because when I first started working and homeschooling, I think one of the things that I always fought against was the fact that stress, right? That there's some level of stress that's going to be involved. But stress is actually a natural part of life, right? Sometimes stress comes from the inside rather than the outside, and we can just stress ourselves out because we're worrying about things, right? And I bring that up, that embrace the tension, is because you are going to have a level of tension when you're working and you're homeschooling, okay? But embrace it. Don't over worry against it. Don't fight against it. So some of you guys are choosing to work. Some of you might have to work, and you might be going into work kicking and screaming. And if that's the case, you're going to have a lot more stress because of your internal struggle with your situation. So learning how to embrace that tension and embrace where you are in your walk, in your journey, is really important to finding that balance. I want to make sure that makes sense, because every time I talk about embrace attention, I know that's like a weird thing. They're like, what? Embrace attention. And then the other thing is, yeah, it's going to be a juggling act. So you have to embrace attention and embrace the fact that it's going to be a juggling act. So I'm not going to lie to you guys and be like, oh yeah, it's going to be all easy. No, there's going to be a juggling act. One of the things I like to talk about when we talk about the juggling act is the actual act of juggling. Now, I wish I had my balls here, and I would like to show you that I can juggle, but I can't. Okay, so I'm not even going to play and front like I can juggle, but let's just pretend that I can. Okay, so I've got my balls and I'm juggling, right? What do you notice when someone juggles? I pretend I'm juggling. What do you notice about juggling? Is a juggler holding the balls? Like, can they hold the ball and juggle? Like, if they never let the ball go, is it actually going to happen? Something stays in the air while the others are held. Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And you said it so perfectly, Amaya, right? It's a continuous motion. Something stays in the air while something else is being held. And I say that because don't hold everything and say and try to concentrate on everything at the same time, right? It is a juggling act. So one of the things I embraced was, when I'm focusing on my homeschool, I'm focusing on my homeschool. When I'm focusing on my work, I'm focusing on my work. But I'm not trying to do them both at the same, like I'm not trying to hold on to them and try to focus on both of them at the same time. And I'm going to talk about some of the strategies on that juggling act as we get further on. But I want you guys to imagine that juggling act. And if I'm really trying to juggle these balls, I can't be holding on to everything at the same time. Like I've got to let it go and focus on one thing at a time. And as I'm talking, go ahead and share in the chat box if you have questions about anything that I'm sharing as we keep moving forward. So I want to make sure that you guys know we're here to talk. So for those who are looking to add a job, or maybe you're evaluating your job with your homeschool, I want to highlight some important things you want to consider. Okay, so the first point was embrace the tension. All right. First point, embrace attention. And it's a juggling act, right? Embrace attention, it's a juggling act. The next point I want to bring out is your job must be flexible. Okay, your job must be flexible. So here's some questions you need to consider as you're evaluating your work. Okay, first one, who? Like, would you need childcare? If so, who would help you with the childcare? All right. So think about who would help you with the childcare. The next thing you want to think about, oops, is what? What type of work could I do that would not put too much stress on me or my family? So when I was homeschooling, I'm gonna have to take out the screens. I like to look at people too, but I won't be able to see y'all. All right, so when I was looking at the work, what kind of work would I do that would not put too much stress on my family? When I was teaching online, so now I don't teach as much online, but when I was teaching online, I was teaching for a virtual charter school. So I taught online because I wanted that flexibility, right? Um, when when will I work, and how many hours could I afford to be away from home? So if you have to work outside the home, think about when will you work, how many hours can you afford to be outside away from the home? Where could I find work that would be close to home in case of an emergency? Could I work online? These are the things you want to ask yourself. Why? So this is a really big important point. So as much as I'm like, yes, working homeschool mom, yay, go. Working homeschool dads, working homeschool parents, yay. The question I want you guys to think about is, would the income be worth your time away from the home? If you were to work, what would be sacrificed? If you were not to work, what would be sacrificed? So I'm not going to sit up here and lie to you guys and say that there is no sacrifice that's going to happen. There is going to be a sacrifice. The question is any of it worth it, right? So if you're working for the same amount that it's going to cost you to have childcare, is it worth it, right? If that's going to be the same amount that you're going to have to pay for childcare, would it be worth it? Then and how do you set up your homeschool and your home schedules to ensure that your kids will get the attention and help that they need? So these are some questions to consider as you're evaluating work. Like if you want to evaluate, should I add work to the table? I'm going to pause here for questions. All right, and remember, I'm looking in the chat, so let me I'll just keep looking in the chat. Someone said it has been helpful for our family to not limit homeschool hours. Yes, traditional school hours in terms of how. That's right. We're going to talk about some of those strategies. Now, you have options to support you, right? You've got homeschool groups that might offer classes and co-ops, right? You have family and close friends that could be of service to you and help you watch the kids. You've got neighbors that can help you watch the kids. You can outsource some of the teaching. So for those of you guys who have not discovered OutSchool, I definitely highly recommend it. I do have a referral link, outschooler.me/Andrea, and you get a $20 code to try it out for free. And those who are on OutSchool, there is a new code that you can use until the end of July to try out a class for $20 credit. So if you use PA Launch 20, if you're ready on OutSchool and use that code, you can use a promo code once. You can actually use it if you're ready on OutSchool. And on OutSchool is a teaching platform where you can outsource math, English, you can have cooking classes and all of that on OutSchool. And the cool thing is, we've compiled a list of teachers of color on OutSchool and online. All right, so if you're looking for teachers of color, we're compiling a list. And if you want to be added to the list, let me know that too. But you can actually, there are teachers of color on OutSchool. So that's the cool thing about that resource. So you can outsource some of those things. When I was teaching full-time, in the online, I was teaching online, but I was still teaching full time. That was a lot of hours. That was 40 hours of of intense work that I had to do. So my kids during that time, I would outsource some of that instruction. Not all of it, but some of it, because it helps take the load off. Some other childcare options could be mom's morning out. For example, some churches have that. It is epichs.org/teachers of color. I will put a link in the chat to that so that you guys can access it. And then at the end, I'll tell you guys how you can get some of the session notes so you can have a copy of all of these, like even a list of questions. Yeah, because those links didn't go live. So I'll show you how you could get a copy of the notes. The other options to support you is a flexibility to pick your own hours and days. So like Amaya mentioned in the chat, you don't have to stick to the traditional schedule, right? Which is a great segue into my third point. My third point, which is find a schedule that works for your family, right? Find a schedule that works for your family. So you don't have to stick to the traditional classroom. You can do it whenever. That one, let me see. It is a different list. I think that's a different list. So we've got a few going around. I think the problem that we're having with the other list was that we weren't getting, some teachers were trying to get added to it. So they're trying to find a way of getting added to it. But hey, use both lists. Both lists are great. So find a schedule that works for your family. So this is one of my old schedules because I was a teacher on OutSchool. I don't teach as actively on OutSchool anymore. But when I taught actively on OutSchool, this was my schedule. I did my blogging and my Teachers Pay Teachers store on Sundays. I had my OutSchool classes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. EPIC Homeschool Network, we met one day a week at that point. So that was a day I focused on EPIC Homeschool Network. Friday was a day when I did my home maintenance, and I always had a rest day built in, and Saturday was a day of rest. So Saturday was a day of rest. So as you're thinking about your schedule, think about like their primary focuses on each day. Like, what are you going to focus on each day, depending on what your different obligations are, right? So that's what I did. I had different hats that I focused in on different days. As we're talking about the juggling act, what are you going to focus on different days? I love Google Calendar. And that was one of the other tools that I use, but I decided to create a homeschool schedule. And I would do this every year, just so you guys could kind of see what a schedule could look like as a working homeschool mom and how you kind of adjust that. I'm sorry, pulling up the two things at the same time. Let's pull that up again. So this is a 2020 schedule. I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to bring you guys a new one, but I wasn't able to update it in time. I could just show you my calendar. But if you'll notice, I did my main teaching in the morning, and then in the afternoon, because I have my kids do schooling in the afternoon. So this is an afternoon schedule. So I did my teaching in the morning, and I did my homeschooling in the afternoon. So that's just kind of what works for me, right? What works for me at that point. I've also played around with having an evening schedule. So from year to year, my schedule would change based on the needs of my work. So in this case, you get up in the morning, and then my work would happen in the evening, right? This was actually when I was consulting, because I've worked as a teacher on OutSchool, and I've also worked on the back end consulting with OutSchool on the back end. So my work schedule was more in the evening at that point. So those are just different ideas on schedules. So I definitely encourage you to make a schedule for your family that works for your family, and then have different focuses on different days. I'm going to pause right here because I tend to talk quickly, and I don't want to bombard you guys with too much information at once. I'm going to pause right here for questions. I didn't see any in the chat. All right. Awesome. I'm happy you like them. And Google Sheets has schedule templates. So you can just pull one up and then just plug in the different things. How do you fit housework meal planning? I use my kids. Let's talk real for a second. Then we talk more about the planners. I use my kids. Okay. Even when my kids were young, they still had an obligation to the family. So when my kids started learning to wash dishes. My oldest started learning to wash dishes at 3 years old. And she'll wash it with me. And that's at that point, I intentionally bought plastic ware, like we would use plastic. Now we don't do it because it's not healthy and the kids are older now, but I had intentionally bought plastic ware so that they could help me take care of that aspect of the housework, washing dishes. So they start washing the dishes, the meal planning. I do those on Sundays. So I have a day where it's like, this is like my planning day. I do those on Sundays. Housework, you notice I do them on Fridays. Not every day the kids are, washing and doing those things every day, but on Fridays is like our main cleaning day. And you do have to get people, you have to get the people, you have to get your family involved. So my husband is very much involved in cleaning up and maintaining the home. So he is definitely like on board with that. And without that support, I wouldn't be able to keep that going. So I'm not trying to say like I'm superwoman. And if you don't have that support, so let me just put that out there. If you don't have that support, then think about investing maybe in it, right? Maybe hiring, like maybe asking a mom's helper, a young teenager in your community to come in and help you do some of that housekeeping to help you, because you can't do it by yourself. I'm not going to try to be like Superwoman and tell you guys I'm Superwoman. I do all of this by myself. I don't. My husband was on board with helping, and the kids are definitely older now, and they help with the cooking and the cleaning and the washing of laundry and the folding of clothes. They all have like a specific task to do. She was a mother's helper for moms and older people. Awesome. So we have someone whose daughter, Khadijah, whose daughter was a mom's helper. Yes, it's so cool. They're so amazing. Look, I remember when I was pregnant and big belly, my back was hurting, and we did not have a dishwasher, and the dishes were stacked miles high. I just broke down and called my niece and asked her to come over because she was driving. I was like, can you just come over and wash these dishes for me? And she did it. So, I mean, it was just amazing. So there are people who are willing to help. Let's talk about organizing your life, right? So in order for you to be a working homeschool mom pro or a working homeschool parent, right, you're going to have to organize your life. You do. And I'll tell you I have 2 tools that I use to do so. I have a physical planner and I have a digital planner. I use them both. Okay. And let me tell you how I use them both. So I don't do either or, I use them both. So I have my digital planner. I like to use Google Calendar. I'll tell you why I like to use Google Calendar. Google Calendar also has you can create a family account. And with the family account, you add the different members to your family into the Google family account, and it gives you a shared calendar. So when I put events on the family calendar, I don't have to share it to each one of their emails individually. My husband's going to see it. My kids are going to see it. All 3 of my kids are going to see what's happening. So that's why I like the Google Calendar. So whenever whenever someone talks to me and says, hey, I'd like to do something, I always get out my phone and I go to my calendar and I type it in at the same time while they are talking. Okay, so it's second nature, and we take our phones with us everywhere. So now it's second nature when someone says, hey, Andrea, I'd like to get together for lunch. And I'm like, oh, for real? That sounds great. Hold on, let me pull up my calendar and let's talk about it. So I pull up my calendar. What day are you guys talking about? And I do that, and I'm scrolling through my calendar and I put it in at that very moment. Okay, one of the tricks that I use when I put it in there, I always put 30 minutes before the event's supposed to start, and then I'll put 1:45. Like say the event's supposed to start at 1:45, I'll put it in my calendar for 1:30, but in my subject line, I'll say 1:45 and the name of the event. So I'm actually blocking off time before the event and after the event, but I know the actual start time of the event because I put it in the title. Does that make sense what I just said? I said it kind of quickly, right? So for example, let me give you a visual. Let me give you a visual. Y'all don't talk about my calendar, please. Don't talk about my calendar. I'm going to give you a visual. All right. So for example, this session starts at 1 p.m. So for the session for today, right? It starts at 1 p.m. I actually put the time 1 p.m. on my calendar, like in the title, as part of the title, I put 1 p.m. Oh, I'm not sure. I should share my screen. I'm looking at my second monitor, but not sharing my screen. Thank you. I like what y'all can't see. Can you guys see my calendar now? All right. So I go in here and I have the name of the event, right? But as I'm typing in the name of the event, I actually put the start time, right? This talk starts at 1 p.m. But if you notice on my calendar, I blocked out 12:45 to 1:45. So I blocked out 15 minutes before the talk. And then, you know, at the end of the talk, I actually forgot what time we end. So make sure I end on time. Please give me a 5-minute warning. But I put a little bit of time before the event, but I put the time of the event on there. So like if I have a doctor's appointment, so for example, if I have a doctor's appointment and the doctor's appointment starts at 10 a.m., I know I need to leave the house at 9:30. I need to probably get ready at 9 o'clock. I'll block out my time 9 o'clock to 2 p.m. or whenever I think I'll be back home. But I'll put 10 a.m. doctor's appointment. So I actually know that the appointment starts at 10 a.m. So that's one of the things I do with the Google Calendar. And I do it with everything. I put my family appointments on there. I put everything on the Google Calendar, and I have all the calendars merging to that one calendar. Now I said I use a digital calendar and I use a physical calendar. So every Sunday, that's my day, Sunday or Friday morning, if my Sundays are going to be crazy. But every Sunday or Friday morning, I take my digital calendar and I take my physical planner. Okay, so I take my Google Calendar and my physical planner, and I take the activities from my digital and I write it in my physical. Okay. There are two reasons for that, because people are like, that's double work. What are you doing? Right? There are two reasons for that. How many of you guys have put things in your phone for an event and you get the notification that the event's about to start, but you realize you should have left like 2 hours ahead of time because you forgot that you even had that event today because you didn't look at your calendar because you're like, oh, so you see the notification, you're like, oh, I should have left already. Have that happened to anyone? Just me? Right? Okay, not just me. Good. So the purpose of having the digital and the physical planner is that when you take the time every Sunday, every Friday, every whatever day to take the events from your digital calendar and put them in your physical calendar just for that week. You're not doing it for the entire month or whatever. You just write it in there for that week. You're actually doing two things. First off, we know better. We remember things when we write it down. Like there's scientific studies, NPR had an article about writing and how writing is really important to helping you remember things, right? So even though we like to type stuff and all that kind of stuff, you understand it better when you write it, right? You do the same thing with a whiteboard so I can see it visually. Yeah, you have to write it down. So yeah, those alerts are good too, but I still write it down. I still have those alerts. But so by writing it down, you get a preview of your week and you understand how you need to structure your week and your time within that week for the events that you have happening that week. So that's why I like to write it down in my physical calendar just for that week, and I choose a day to do it. let me see the chat. Yep. You have both a physical and manual calendar. You set the notifications to remind you an hour in advance of a meeting. Yep. Use a digital and physical as well. Yep. Your daughter is a teen and she does that. All of her homeschool stuff is on a Google Calendar and Trello, but she's a physical calendar to manage her time. Awesome. Your daughter is on point. And setting the alerts are really cool, like a day ahead or something like that to properly prepare. I do set the alerts too, don't get me wrong, but I do have to have it physical. And then there's some things that happen, right? Sometimes your phone goes dead, or sometimes, I do remember, you guys remember when Google had like an outage one time. So, I love technology. I teach on technology, but technology is not all that dependable all the time. So just saying. So that's the other thing. It's like a backup for that too. So that's why I take the time and write it down every week. And then the planner that I like to use, yeah, it's a little pricey. I use the full focus planner. And then from that, I also created a homeschool focus planner because I wanted to focus more on the homeschool aspect. So that was something else that I started to do. Can you set alerts for individual on a Google Family? Huh. So on the Google Family calendar, I haven't checked it on my daughter's account. I didn't really check to see if I can manage her alerts. That's a really good question. I don't know the answer to that, but I'm definitely going to try that. I'm going to check that out. That's a good one. This is a full focus planner. One of the things I like about it is that it does give you like a weekly preview, something for you to think about and for you to focus in on what you're going to do, the top 3 things you're going to focus on for that day, right? So this is a full focus planner. And Michael Hyatt does a full focus planner. So I like that system, but I was like, well, I want something for my homeschool. So we use this kind of format. And this is a downloadable that you can print off. So we have like a weekly to-do list, right? But then what are my 3 main goals for my homeschool, right? So yeah, we put a lot of time into thinking about our work, but making sure we're also thinking about our homeschool is also important. Also paying attention to your weekly wins in your homeschool, because sometimes I think some of us think that we're not doing anything in our homeschool. People, outsiders can come at us and make us feel like oh, you're homeschooling your kids. What did you guys do today? What did you guys learn? And then you could kind of feel like, oh, I'm such a horrible homeschool parent. So by taking the time every week to write down some of your weekly wins in your homeschool will help you to really see what's happening and acknowledge the work that you do in your homeschool. And then, weekly menu planning, and then you've got some lesson plan sheets in there too. I know I can set the alerts for myself, but I'm wondering if we can so there's a question in the chat, or they think that if you duplicate the event, you can set different alert times. I know we can set alerts for ourselves, but I'm wondering if we can control the alerts to family members so that it will ring to their phones when we want it to. So that is the question. That's a good thing to explore though, especially for the kids. Okay. Whew. So far we've talked about embracing the tension. Okay, we talked about finding a schedule that works for you and your family. And we talked about the digital versus the physical calendar, and finding a job, right, that works for you and your family. Then you also want to find a curriculum that works for you and your family, or you could create your own. Again, I will have some notes for you guys. You can get the notes at epichsn.org/notes if you like notes for this session. So let's talk about some of the 5 factors that influence curriculum choices, right? You've got to think about your budget, the time factor. That's a really important point to note as far as the time factor when you're thinking about curriculum, because one year I wanted to use a curriculum. It was called Weaver. I love Weaver. It's designed for multiple age groups in a family. So it sounded like a really great curriculum, but the time to prep the curriculum was intense for me. And I ended up not being able to sustain it. So you want to make sure you choose a curriculum as a working parent that that does not require too much prep time, right? Make sure it aligns to your homeschool vision and mission, right? Yeah, some of the programs are very teacher intuitive. Struggling, trying to find the right social studies. Yeah, that's a hard one. And then your child's learning style and interest level. Have you checked out, as you're talking about social studies, woke homeschooling? That's been one of the curriculums that we've been looking at, as well as a blessed heritage. Those are both African-American created social studies curriculums. We used a blessed heritage last year. It's just a lot of tools, but once you grab all the books together, it's you can use that program too. Think about your child's learning style and their interest level. So if your child, for example, online education is great, but if you know your child's just going to watch the videos and not going to remember anything that they learned, that might not be good for you. Or maybe you need someone who's actually engaging with your child. And then your teaching style, right? So you don't want to just talk about your child's learning style and interest level, but also think about your teaching style as you're thinking about the different curriculums. I'm going to pause right here. The names of those curriculums, I'll type it, A Blessed Heritage by Belinda Bullard, and Woke Homeschooling. You're welcome. All right. And finally, get support. Okay. I am a Christian. But I think this can be applied to anyone. Okay. Let me go back because the answer is on the board. Let me stop sharing actually. Get support. So that's actually one of the strategies. Get support. How many guys have read Proverbs 31? Just out of curiosity, how many guys have read Proverbs 31? Those are curriculums, A team. Proverbs 31. All right, so here's a pop question. What is the first thing that the virtuous woman does when she wakes up in Proverbs 31? Tell me. Let's see, who knows it? What's the first thing this virtuous woman in Proverbs 31 does when she wakes up? Anyone know? I feel like playing Jeopardy music. I wish I had a giveaway to give you guys. Well, I do. I have the worksheet giveaway, but everyone's going to get that. What? She hits her knees. All right, Tanita, I am sure she hits her knees. There's something else she does. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, well, one of the things I like about this, no matter which you are, one of the first things it says that she does is she rises while it is yet night and giveth meat to her household and apportions to her maidens. Did you guys hear that? Regardless of whatever your religious background is, this is an important note for me, was because she has help. She had help. And she gets up early and she provides for the help. And the reason I say that is because get support, get resources. Don't try to do it all on your own. Okay. Being a working mom pro is not, or being a working homeschool mom is not about you just trying to do it all and say, oh, I did it all, and pat yourself on the back and be like, I'm superwoman. But using the resources that you have so that you can benefit your kids. So I think a lot of us, and I know myself, struggle with that, like trying to do it all and thinking you have to do it all. And I've got to do all the housework. I've got to do all the cleaning. I've got to do all the teaching. I've got to do all the work, and I've got to do it all by myself. And that's just not the case. Okay, that is just not the case. Get support, get resources. There are tools to help you with that. And yes, I will drop that link in there. And that's really one of the things I wanted to kind of highlight, that you can get support and get resources. I'm going to drop some links here. Oops. And while we're talking about that, let me share, of course, you've got resources in your local community. You can reach out to your local community for resources, and you can get resources, well, EPIC, right? We've got our homeschool masterclass. So I wanted to skip some other slides, just knowing that I'm paying attention to the time here. So here again are the 5 strategies. So I gave you guys a lot of information. So let's go ahead and recap the 5 strategies to balance work, home, and school. The first strategy, embrace the tension, right? There is a necessary tension that you're going to experience, that you're going to have to embrace. And that just comes with the territory, right? Make sure your job is flexible. So as you're looking for jobs, find something that is flexible that will work with your family and your schedule, which leads to the third point. Find a schedule that works for your family, whether it's homeschooling in the evening, homeschooling in the morning, homeschooling on the weekends, because I know some nurses who actually they work during the week and then they homeschool on the weekend, or they work during the weekend and then they're able to homeschool during the week. So find a schedule that works for your family. Find a homeschool curriculum that works for your family, right? Make sure it's nothing that has too much prep, that you don't have to do too much prep work for, especially with your obligation of working in addition to homeschooling. And then finally, get support. Get support. You want to make sure that you get support. Can I say that again? Get support. Mothers, helpers, whatever you need to do, get support. All right, I'm going to stop right here to answer more questions and let us wrap it up. Yes, military family as well, reaching out to local community sites helps. Check out MWR site and base or post library where you're stationed at often has resources, and often homeschool resources as well. Thank you for that, for the military families. That's awesome. Thanks for putting that in there. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm happy. I'm going to kind of stick around for questions. And let me drop the link so you guys can get the notes. That's probably would be really helpful. So for those, I said a lot of information. I gave you guys a lot of questions. So you're probably like, well, now where are the notes? So let me give you that link. And you can get the notes for today's session. I will be emailing them to you. Let me make sure that link.
Andrea, can you put it in your marketplace space on the teaching site? You can put the link there so folks can go there. And if folks have questions for you, they can post it in your marketplace site as well.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting there's a marketplace. It's
that's
just
right.
So I love it. I'm going to go there now and drop it in there. But let me go back to the chat. I'll make sure I put it in there for you guys. You're welcome. So my contact information, yes, I'll be happy to do that as well. And while I'm doing that, questions, if you ask a question and we did not answer it, or if you have a concern and I did not address it, please, how much time do I have, Doc?
You have a good 5 minutes because yep, we have 5 minutes and you're doing well.
All right, Dr. Khadijah.
And actually, I'm going to copy and paste this and I'm going to put it in your marketplace for you. And then you can just go and add anything else. Do you want your information, your phone number in the marketplace? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
I saw people taking notes.
Excellent. All right. I don't see any other questions. Yes, I love OutSchool. Love, love, love OutSchool. Let me put that link in there. So if you have not checked out OutSchool, let me drop a little link in there with that promo code. And I'll put that in the marketplace too. You're welcome. You guys have a great day. Thanks for joining me. All right, I guess I'll just hang around.
All right, everybody, have a wonderful day. Our next session that's coming up starts at 2 p.m. So any bathroom breaks that you need to have, I know I didn't space any of this out for you all. So we're gonna close this out and we're gonna start back at 2. And Mama Aunt Andrea is gonna go to her marketplace. I see that you started setting it up. It looks so nice in there. I see your beautiful profile photo. So if folks have additional questions or comments, I encourage you to put your positive comments for this session in her marketplace, but also go there to get any additional information that you want in order to contact her later. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.